Well, hailing frequencies are open. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Last Excelsior, the StreamPunks Star Trek Adventure Second Edition campaign that we've just kicked off. We were dark last week. Thank you so much, Noir, for filling in with all the amazingly awesomeness, the awesomenessity. You guys don't even know. Noir is literally building out an expansive universe of some of the best ttrpg players, creating a Discord server for all of us to just hang out and play and create storylines. He's had to endure me digging into the entire Marvel universe and throwing and like creating 300,000 characters that I want to play. Noir, you were getting dosed with what it was like to be my game master, and I'm just gonna say I do not envy you at all.
I'm honestly just excited that people are excited. Like, I saw a couple of our Aux crew asking questions about the plot, and that did my heart a warm fuzzy. So just thank you guys for caring. This is awesome.
It is cool. I'm very excited. I've literally created like 50 characters, and I've had to streamline it, spending too much time deleting and recreating. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed that. You're going to see a lot more of it. Once a month, Noir is going to be doing his Noirval game, and we might be doing some a little off into the side of that as well. So stay tuned. I believe the last Tuesday of the month is still the Noirval game.
Last Tuesday will still be Big B and Dash. That means that you will have a back-to-back, particularly if you are a coffee subscriber companion tier and up, next week. Next week is Noirval StreamPunks Presents. Anything else you want to say about that, Noir?
Yes, I can tell you that Wednesday, it's looking like the day the roadmap comes out. So not only will next week you be getting a double dose of Noirval, but you'll be seeing what you can get in the future, and there might be another promo bonus. I'm trying something new with actual plays, and I'm really excited to show it to you guys. So, again, thank you for being interested. That's the only reason that I get this, and I'm trying to make you guys proud.
Awesome. Thanks, Noir.
We're all USS proud of you.
Yeah. A couple of other housekeeping announcements for the Last Excelsior in particular. I wanted to give everybody a big heads up. I've already alerted some of the people that show up to the League of Whimsy streams on Monday mornings about this. But if you've noticed, we are down a Bonnie, and this is actually going to become kind of a common thing. Unfortunately, Bonnie has become incredibly successful in her life. I guess, unfortunately, people have finally noticed how wonderful she is, and it sucks for us because it was really working out well for us. But as it turns out, Bonnie is starting to book more and more and do a lot of gigs off to the side. She even tried to make it down to the game today, but I had to actually wave her off, which is good because last she showed us, she's in a mocap studio, and they only just got her booted up. So there's no way she was making tonight. That being said, we wish her all the best and all the love. She will be still a part of the Last Excelsior cast. She's just going to be performing in a guest role spot moving forward, which means we're going to be on the lookout for a new permanent crew member. So stay tuned for that. But moving forward, Bonnie's going to be just kind of dipping in and dipping out whenever she can because she desperately wants to keep playing. So we still got her. We just got to share her with everybody else, which is bullshit. But anyway. So that's that. The other stuff too is this coming month, StreamPunks is going to start rolling out our lineups for when you can expect our one-shots to be happening. I'm in the course of doing a move, so I am dark all this week on my personal channel. But next week, I'll be kicking back up and getting things rolling, so stay tuned for information coming out on that. Those were the only announcements that I had. Does anybody else have anything that they need to get into before we jump into tonight's episode? Yeah. Whoever wants to jump in. Yeah.
Just my usual visit alizapearl.itch.io, read my story, The Story, and follow me there. And also, if you need a new audiobook to listen to, One for All is out on Amazon, Audible, and I guess wherever else you get audiobooks. And it's the first audiobook I've completely narrated by myself. So
nice.
Go check that out. It's a very good fantasy novel with neurodivergent representation.
Yay.
Yeah.
All right, great. Anybody else have anything they want to say before we jump into tonight's episode? Yes, Sam.
So we just finished this whole arc involving avoiding Prime Directive violations. But what if I told you that any time any Starfleet vessel had a warp core breach, it might have created a prime directive violation everywhere in our galaxy? This brought to you by real life theoretical warp drive physics in the latest episode of May Contain Science, live now on my YouTube, going into the chat and over on my coffee.com/@delevely. Genuinely, there's a whole field of people who really actually do the physics of warp drives and studied what might happen if a warp bubble collapsed. So, very casual. Also, apologies to Ox Crew in particular for having used a Ross class ship in a thumbnail about warp drive containment failure. Profoundly wish I were a person who regretted that.
All this talk, all these threats you laid down about blowing up your ship.
I couldn't let it be someone else's ship. That would be inconsiderate. Like, if I'm going to talk about warp drive, it's got to be mine. Like, what if I did that to poor Admiral, right?
No, you're right. I mean, Kirk blew up.
I could do this to Admiral. I'm excited. Let's start the show.
All right. Let's go ahead with that ominous note. Start tonight's episode of The Last Excelsior. Before we get into where we left off from last episode, just a bit of housekeeping, just right at the top. As you all know, Ox Crew has been generously supporting the StreamPunks. Our higher tier supporters give us Ox points. Since the start of the campaign, we've been playing around with how we want to implement Ox points, and I have finally arrived at a very simple solution to the issue. I wouldn't call it a problem. It has been in second edition Star Trek Adventures. The momentum spends are quite well balanced. It's a bit of a departure from first edition where everything was just kind of no man's land. Momentum lets you get everything done. Momentum and threat in Star Trek Adventures second edition is far more balanced. And I was worried about disrupting that balance. So I've come up with a pretty interesting solution that I thought might both entertain and create anxiety, which as a GM, that's exactly what you want. So with all of that in mind, the new Ox point system that I have in place is going to function as so. Moving forward, every player, one player per scene, which means I should say not one player out of the entire group, but like once one player per scene.
One per scene per player.
Yeah, you get it. Can spend an Ox point to gain a free bonus momentum. That's how that works. 1 aux point equals 1 free bonus momentum. Now, keep in mind, too, that bonus momentum in Star Trek Adventure 2nd Edition is specified is that it is an immediate momentum spend. You have to immediately pop that thing off. You cannot put it in your pool. However, there is a complication to this, of course, because I'm going to balance this out. A little bit new, for the first time ever, I, as a storyteller, also get to pull on the aux crew points. So, I, once per scene, can pull an aux point to gain 1 threat. Now, unfortunately, threat works somewhat differently for the GM, and if I need to bank that, I can bank that. However, probably not going to be using it. Mostly just going to be using it to generate some threat. This is a method that will both encourage aux points to be spent, to keep them away from me, but also to keep the things moving forward and to kind of balance it out. So we'll be doing this method moving forward. It'll be super easy, and it'll also let you all basically have a big pool of aux points to call upon anytime you need. So don't be surprised if you, aux crew, every now and then hear me call out your name, and thank you very much for giving me the high yield torpedo that I needed to shoot the USS Pride with. Okay, that being said, let's go ahead and do a very quick recap. On the previous episode of the Last Excelsior, you all had departed a starbase for a starbase. It was supposed to be, as they almost always are, a routine mission. You guys were headed out from Starbase 84, headed to Starbase 16. The purpose of this was to basically finish the crew complement of the USS Pride. Now, if you remember, as a quick recap, when the Pride left space dock, it was not this grand ceremonial thing. It was mostly just getting her ready to go, getting as many people on her as possible, and then getting her out the door. Your Admiral, who was trying to get the USS Pride up and going, was trying to get her as far away from Starfleet as possible. Kind of like, just being like, aha, you can't stop us. We already launched the ship anyway, moving on. His little side project of launching the USS Pride as a launch pad for testing shuttlecraft, but also to bolster the reserve fleet. Right now, the reserve fleet is being called upon more than it ever has before because of the ongoing crisis with the Romulan Hobus Star, which Starfleet, the Romulan Star Empire, the Klingon Empire, all the major governments of the quadrants are tracking and are aware that the Hobus Star is unstable and is set to go supernova in the next half decade. Now, there is rumor that this timeline might be accelerated. And what's happened is essentially one of the greatest undertakings in the history of the galaxy, moving millions and millions of people from planet to try to make room for this explosion is now underway, with Admiral Picard heading up the entirety of this extraordinary effort. All of that is the backdrop of how the USS Pride even got out of space dock. Y'all were supposed to head straight to Starbase 16, pick up the last parts of the Peregrine fighters that you were all going to be updating and testing, as well as picking up the last members of your crew that are waiting to be found, waiting to be basically transported onto the ship. On your way there, you ended up engaging in a rescue mission to which the Prime Directive was nearly completely violated, not by any fault of yours, and nearly lost an entire crew of civilians. However, none of this took place. In fact, the USS Pride swooped in and quite literally saved the day, rescuing every one of the survivors of a doomed ship. You managed to not only rescue planet-side, the survivors as well, but you actually managed to preserve the Prime Directive and remove all evidence of technology from the planet. You did have a brief encounter with the natives of the Tenyodo system. However, it is believed that they will probably take back the stories of what took place and insist that they had encountered some kind of god being that made them glow and had voiced its displeasure. As things go, could have been worse. But not too bad for a little bit of a feather in your cap as you're just literally leaving space dock to go pick up more equipment. You have also picked up a new crew member, the former captain of the Calican, a doomed cargo vessel, which is barely salvageable and is still lingering in an ancient Romulan minefield. This captain, whose name is, I'll give you his full name now, because now that you've got him on board the ship, his name is Yetib Wessat, or Wessat, if you want to pronounce it properly in his Bolian tongue. Yetib is Yetib. Yetib. Wessat is Wessot. I miss watching Sam and Hector vie for who's going to guess the spelling. Like there was a genuine, you go back and watch any of the old episodes of S.H.I.E.L.D. and those two would just compete. Like there was all the time.
Well, this one was easy, Ari.
Yeah.
This is like level 1 name stuff. Now, like, get me maybe some like weird Klingon stuff. Come back, we'll talk.
Yeah.
But yes, it is my favorite minigame in all speculative fiction. Guess how to spell the dang name.
With that, you have offered Captain Wessat, who is now just Wessat, you've offered him a place aboard the USS Pride. He has accepted, and now it's just going through the process of finding out how he is going to serve aboard the ship. He can certainly serve as an enlisted member, depending on what his skill sets are, and he can certainly just serve as a civilian engineer. Everyone's who's got a skill set is welcome right now in Starfleet. Anybody who wants to lend a hand. You have a lot of authority in this, Captain. In truth, you can kind of decide how he is going to operate aboard the ship. And he does have a skill set. It's just finding out what it is. You guys are all currently transporting the survivors who have set up a triage area in the main hangar bay. And right now, we're going to start this episode off with the brilliant star flash of the USS Pride leaving warp and entering sector space. Coming up on the main view screen at long distance, Captain, you see the spectacular slow spin of that azure glowing Starbase up ahead, along with a lot of activity. Starbase 16 lingers just up in front of you. A deep space station and one of the many crossroads for civilian craft and Starfleet operations in the Beta Quadrant. The occasional starburst of ships leaving and arriving in the sector suggests that it's a pretty busy station. And as you're approaching, your Helm's off. Oh, let me give you your Helm officer's name, by the way. Her name is Lieutenant Cashin Vell. She's a Bolian, and she is just serving as a temporary Helm's officer until you get your permanent Helm officer on Starbase 16. As you're all approaching, you see her tap a couple of buttons. Sitting next to you, by the way, is an important note, just to sort of paint the picture and remind everybody, even though you are XO of the ship, Commander Hada sits in the operations station right next to the Helm's officer. You see playing across the LCARs, typing in some few commands, channels open, and you hear the Helm officer say, "Approach control, this is the Pride, ready for docking maneuver." A few moments pass before you hear, coming through the comms on the overhead, "Captain, USS Pride, this is Starbase 16, Pride is cleared for docking." She responds, "Confirmed, locking on." A few buttons pressed, and a soft blue glow emanates from the top of the bridge, indicating a tractor beam has been activated on the USS Pride. As you guys slow to 1/4 impulse, she says, "Space Dock, systems are now locked. You have control." And Space Dock says, "Affirmative, Pride. Enjoy the ride and welcome to 16.
Thank you for having us. I'm just going to look at Hata, and do we have a itinerary of who we're picking up here? Do we have a list of all the names?
Yes, I will send that over to you now.
Oh, wonderful. I'd like to have a senior officers meeting if I could. Let's let everybody stretch their legs out, enjoy the day. But I give a time, and I'm just going to say give a random time, and at that point, let's have everybody meet up in our meeting room, and let's get to know each other.
Sounds good, Captain.
All right.
You got. Oh, go ahead.
As you're having the conversation, you see the space doors open of the Starbase. As they do, you can see a couple of starships just lingering inside. Lots of shuttlecraft coming and going. It's a rare treat for anybody who is currently sitting on the promenade deck of the space dock, looking out over all the ships that are coming and going. You see all sorts of wonderful sights of the beautiful, magnificent starships that come and go through here. But to see an Excelsior class refit, the last one in service, it's like watching an old hot rod pull into a movie theater. Heads turn in the cafes as they look outside the great expansive windows into the large docking bay area as this Scale 5 starship from a previous era slips between the space doors and begins to find its resting place at its docking station. Quite the sight. Few of the old admirals watch with some measure of admiration as they're sipping their drinks, admiring the old ship as she docks at the station. According to Starfleet records, this is the 15th time the USS Pride in her 86 years of service that she has docked at Starbase 16. This is not the same Starbase that it was when the Pride was originally commissioned. This Starbase has been refit numerous times and has been upgraded to the point where it can no longer be called the Ship of Theseus. However, the Pride is still the same gal she always was. She comes parking into the space dock. You all hear the locking mechanisms come into place as moors are activated. And the Pride comes to a rest as docking maneuvers are completed.
A little rockier than the new models, but still pretty nice. All right, everyone. I'm gonna stand up and Kata, the con is yours. And I'm just going to make my way to I want to make my way to oh, you just gave us his name. Yatet Wesset.
Oh, Wesset, yeah.
Wesset.
As you stand, Captain, your helm officer quickly stands up almost nervously and says, "Captain, I'm sorry, may I have a word, sir?"
Of course. I will gesture to the ready room.
She follows you into the ready room. And the two of you, as soon as you get inside, she says, "I'm sorry, sir, I didn't want to take up too much of your time." The Bolian kind of tugs on her fingers a little bit like she's a little nervous, but you get the impression it's not so much anxiousness as it's just kind of a feeling of, you get a feeling that she's a little sad. And as you observe her, she says, I didn't mean to take you away from your duties, sir. I just wanted to thank you. I don't know if you saw, but I'm actually on the transfer list. So this is my stop.
Last time on the Pride, huh?
Yes, sir. I'm being reassigned to the USS Mount Shasta. She's a California class.
California classes are nice.
I've heard stories. I'm excited. They want me as their chief Helms officer.
Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. And also felt the need to maybe apologize for running into a mine. It's not something I normally do in my off time. You know, generally speaking, at Starfleet Academy, they still teach us to avoid mines, sir. And I think maybe this time I just forgot my training.
I mean, as far as hobbies go, hitting mines probably not the best one.
Yes, sir. But I just wanted to thank you. I didn't think I was going to get the opportunity to helm the Pride, and it was great.
You weren't bad at it. Have a seat. Relax.
Oh, thank you. She takes a seat right in front of your desk.
I remember leaving the USS Javelin. It was hard because these ships become your home. When did the Pride become your home?
Well, I wasn't even originally supposed to be stationed on the Pride. It was kind of an accident because of all the crew shuffling that was going on. The Pride, I guess, was a little short-handed, and then all of a sudden, the Admiral just pulled me in, and well, obviously, I'm not going to tell Admiral Rallin no, but at the same time, there's an opportunity to pilot the Last Excelsior class in Starfleet. I couldn't say no to that either. I guess this was about maybe a year ago. And I don't know, it's unique. The quarters here are different. Everything feels different. I mean, I know they've upgraded her a lot. The corridors are narrow and there's a lot of bunk beds, and you just get a real taste of what it was like for our grandparents when they were sailing the stars, you know? It's just not like that anymore. Now quarters are big and starships are all, I don't know. Something about it just doesn't feel as, humans have a funny word for it. Chummy.
I'm not familiar with that one, but I'll add it to the vernacular. I like it.
It's supposed to mean something friendly, but I thought they were referring to like biomatter that they throw into water to attract predators. Which apparently one of the most useless things I learned in the academy, because not that I don't love marine biology, it's fine. I'm sorry, I'm rambling, sir.
It's fine. If he's gonna stand up, walk over and offer his hand.
She takes her hand and shakes it with a big smile on her face and says, "It's been a privilege, sir. Really."
You know, I'm not supposed to tell this particular secret. It kind of goes against the whole command thing. It took a year for the Pride to be your home. The secret is, it'll always be your home. You always have a place here. Enjoy your new transfer.
She stands up and says, "Thank you, sir."
And don't spread rumors about me, captain's talk.
She smiles and she says, "I'll keep that in mind." Permission to leave, sir.
Permission granted.
And
I
she
still
smiles
have to get used to the timing. It just says that and she walks away.
and she nods. And with that, Lieutenant Cashenvel steps out. She pauses and looks around the bridge one more time as she pauses by the turbo lift with a small smile on her face, and looks at the Helm station, a little bit of intimidation on her face as she steps into the turbo lift and steps a little bit closer to her destiny in Starfleet.
Well, there goes one of the easy assignments. Now to the rough stuff. And he's just gonna walk to the turbo lift.
Okay. So if you're heading to talk to Wesset, that'll take you a moment to get down there, because Wesset is currently based in literally on the opposite end of the very top point, opposite end of the ship. As you know, in the Excelsior class, the hangar bay is the very aft of the ship. So you were headed on what would be considered the longest ride on the turbolift from bridge to the cargo bay to the hangar. While that is happening, is anybody else doing anything? Would anybody else like to do anything before we initiate another scene?
Is this my hangar?
Oh, yeah. There's
He's
only
in my hangar.
Yeah.
Where is he in my hangar?
Wesset?
Yes.
Wesset is currently Wesset is in the vicinity of the 100+ rescued civilians from the crew that have been delegated over to the starboard side of the hangar itself. Space has been cleared for them, curtains have been erected, and there's also some pretty impressive little holographic projectors that are giving people something of a small, like, comfortable space. Wesset's been down here the whole time, just coordinating and talking to people, comforting people, letting them know what's going on, assuring people that Starfleet's going to make sure that they get to their destinations. Also telling people that he is going to offer refunds. There's a couple of folks that are no, what are you going to do? And he's been heard saying, I'm joining Starfleet. I don't have to worry about money anymore. And which is gotten a couple of looks from some of the folks on the deck, kind of like, did we hear him right? Is he joining Starfleet? But that's Wesset. If you're looking to have a conversation with him, he is very active.
The captain is going to walk and collect Wesset. But before I do that, I am going to do a quick scan for Cadence to see if Cadence is around.
I mean,
we're making room we're about to be getting the Griffin Wing prototypes in over at Starbase 16. So there is a fair amount of coordination with Deck Chief Keith Santos that some might interpret as yelling, but only because their words delivered at a very high decibel. No other reason. I don't know why people think that's yelling.
Yeah.
But it's reciprocal.
Yeah. Santos is as a quick snapshot of Santos's personality. Santos runs his hangar in tight order, especially because the USS Pride is one of the very few Excelsior class refits that ever had an extensive hangar bay. And as a result of that, this is a huge hangar. Requires a lot of coordination between staff. And when something is if there is so much as a laser wrench that has been misplaced or a tricorder that has been left out of its station for charging, he has a tendency to have a temper about it. It is not uncommon, even in the small amount of time that you've served aboard the command staff, Captain, to see Cadence and Santos looking like they might come to blows. Now, it doesn't ever get that far, but and you get the impression too that it's one of those situations where if the flight crew is freaking out, that's when you know the plane is in trouble. None of the staff in the cargo or hangar the hangar bay seems to pay any attention when these two are yelling at each other.
I take Wesset. I put a hand on his shoulder. Oh, good. I got to you first.
Yes. Hello, Captain. Captain.
Yes.
Hello, sir. Hi.
Hi.
Captain, I introduced you to Tanya Creel, correct? I think I introduced you to her when she first arrived. Tanya is the highest ranking member. Is it accurate to call you the highest? Like, I don't know, were you the mayor? I don't actually remember. You see Tanya, this woman that looks like she's in her early 60s, she just shakes her head and she's tying her curls back and she goes, no, I wasn't mayor. I was just head of the colony. I was a coordinator, if anything else. It's a pleasure to meet you again, Captain. Yes, we met earlier.
Lovely to meet you. How has the Pride been treating you?
Well, I have to say, this is the most luxurious hangar deck I've ever been on. Bit loud, but not because of the shuttlecraft. And she glances over at Cadence and Santos.
I will stick that hyperspanner so far up that exhaust that.
Well, I can tell you that it will most likely get a touch louder. I just wanted to welcome you again, and maybe get yourself something to eat or explore the base. I just needed to make sure that I got here first. Yes. You can see Jared just keeps looking over in the direction of the yelling.
Yeah.
Okay. So I would make yourself scarce. Get yourself some rest. You've had a long one. I've got more work to do, and I'd hate for you to be stressed.
Oh, thank you, Captain. We're going to be taking ourselves off your hands soon enough. Thank you for coming down here and speaking to us when you did. Actually, I didn't know what the protocol was, but I wanted to come up and thank you personally on behalf of everyone.
Well, if people are in trouble, it's Starfleet's responsibility to not only save them, but to show them a little bit of kindness.
You see her expression changes curiously when you say that, and she glances over at Wesset, and Wesset almost seems to like not catch it at first before he just goes, "Yes, thank you, Captain. That for everything. Anyway,
oh yeah, I'm totally gonna vibe check that one. We're going in on that one.
It does not pass you by. And okay, so looking for looking for that vibe check. It's going to be a pretty simple insight check on this. So go ahead and I would say make an insight command roll.
All right, so insight
Difficulty
command.
is
1. Insight command. Oh, we're gonna be pretty good. It's 16. Here we go. 3 and a 6.
3 and a 6. Make sure to bank that momentum. Oh, speaking of which, I need to. Did I find them? Is that what these? I found them. I'm so happy, you guys. I found all of my old momentum and threads from Shield of Tomorrow, and I'm getting to use them now. I'm so happy. Now I'm just pull out all this thread that I get to use now.
If you needed more threats, I could have provided at any time.
No, thank you. I have an abundance of Sam threads. We're good. Sam threads are trying to threat.
Noir, was that with a focus or not? Because that 3 might have come under your number if applicable, and then we'd have 2 momentum.
Oh, yeah, I can use the focus here. I will say, I think this falls under team dynamics. It feels like
Okay. Yes, I would say. I would say it. Yeah, I would say it's on the periphery of team dynamics for sure, because you're watching quiet communication between two people who've gotten to know each other pretty well and who have probably functioned in a leadership role for the past week. So yes, I would say that is a fair assessment.
Is this the second scene of the
It is.
episode?
Yes, this is scene number 2.
I had us started at full, so then we would have dropped 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think new adventure we wipe. Yes, that feels.
Yes. Oh, wipes
right.
back to 0.
Yeah, new adventure you wipe.
Okay, awesome, cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
So you guys are good.
All right. Yeah, I'm just kind of peeping this out, doing what I can not to give away that I'm like suspicious now.
Okay, so with those successes, you get the impression that she looked like she was biting her tongue. She wanted to say something, and you get the impression that Wesset dove in there and tried to change the subject very quickly.
Any idea or organization that's afraid of scrutiny? Is it one that should exist? That's a personal thought I have.
Are you saying that out loud?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Random thought. Sometimes they just pop into my head. Funny.
She speaks up and says, I agree.
Oh, do you have any in mind? I'd love to hear it.
You see the muscle in her jaw flex. It's subtle, but not so subtle since you guys are facing each other right now. Wesset, however, you get the impression that Wesset would be terrible at poker, because he is one of these people that kind of just says the awkward thing out loud. He turns to her and says, don't.
Come on. I need a warm-up. Can I tell you something? The reason that I'm in Starfleet is because Starfleet failed my people. So you got to do what you can to fix it. I'm getting the feeling that you might have a story similar to mine.
I do. Yes. We all do. This colony was asking for help for months. Captain Wesset is the only one who replied. And he didn't want to say anything, but I'm going to say it now. You see him say, please don't. Please, that's not necessary. Creel waves him off and says, he wasn't earning a single profit from this. He was paying his crew, and he was paying for the passage of the ship, but he gave us an excellent deal to help us get off that planet. Because Starfleet was not answering us. we were put into some kind of waiting queue. And with the lack of information, all we knew is that there was a star somewhere that was going to explode and that we could be affected. Plus, our colony had been dying for some time. So, yes, I'm understandably bitter. Probably not quite as much of a reason to be bitter as you, but
It's not a competition.
I was about to say that. Still, didn't want to disrespect.
We failed you. The least we can do is hear what you have to say.
Well, I'll be making sure that the people who failed me hear about it. As far as I'm concerned, you and the USS Pride saved our lives. So you won't have to hear a thing about it except for thank you. And if you really are taking this obnoxious blue marble with you, and she nudges Wesset and says, be good to him. It's hard to find a good one out there like this one. Wesset goes, please don't do that. I don't, Captain, she took a head injury when we were rescuing her, and
I just kind of give him the hand. It's like, you don't have to explain. I'm taking your friend because we need more people who won't ignore the call for help. I am sorry. Truly.
it's all right. I did want to ask you, though, Captain,
Yes.
since we haven't heard anything, and I didn't want to be rude, and she glances again back over at Wesset. Wesset nods and goes, yeah, okay. She wants to know about Rozik and his brother, Limrys.
Well, I can't very well have you wait again.
If it's all right,
And
they technically Rozik was an employee of mine, and if it's all right, Captain, I'd like to see him whenever that's possible. I know that they were both in recovery, so. But I'd like to get some answers.
I'd like to call someone in tactical and have them escort to see their friend. But I do want them watched, so that's why
Okay.
I'm calling tactical.
You hear the smoky-edged voice of Lieutenant Zarya immediately answer you and says, aye, Captain. I'm on my way down. Thank you, Captain. I appreciate that. I don't want to interrogate anybody, but I just want to know, why did you steal one of my escape pods and then leave a bunch of people behind? I just, I'd like to figure that out.
Well, ask your questions and behave befitting of Starfleet personnel.
Well, are you going to be good here? You see the woman nods her head. Creel just says, get on out of here. I'll take care of the rest of us. Find me on 16. We're going to transport over there, and I'm going to start coordinating getting everyone set up to wherever they're going to go. But don't leave without saying goodbye. And he says, I'll see you on 16. I'll head to sickbay.
I'm gonna leave them so they can have their moment, and that's when I'm gonna start walking over to Cadence. But we can go somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, you definitely, as you walk away from these two, you're just getting like...
And you are the best deck chief I've had so far, so please, just don't mess it up. We're having a good thing here, all right?
The silence that emits from Chief Santos is telling unto itself. You see him shaking his head, rocking a little bit as sparks are beginning to fly out from underneath one of the nacelles of the shuttle pad as he is just moving around it and cutting into what looks like some kind of paneling that he is installing a circuitry into. Just pulls it off and goes, this is my deck to mess up as I damn well see fit. You're the guest here. And he slams something down and then sees you.
Guest, if I weren't here, you wouldn't be on a deck because this ship wouldn't be in the sky. Captain on the deck.
Lieutenant Commander?
What brings you to our corner of the hangar bay? The busy side's all the way over there. I hear they might be having a movie night or something. Something with the holo projectors. I don't know exactly. I saw them get set up.
Well, I'm just overseeing the transfer of personnel, making sure that everybody has all the hands that they need.
Were you thinking of taking some from anyone? Redistributing
Oh,
them? I like
more-
both of mine.
Captain, permission to speak freely.
Yes,
There we
great.
go.
Why do we have fighter craft on board this starship, sir? They are outdated and useless. We do not need them. We could be using drone technology to do what they achieve and take up about a third of the space. We require about half the attitude from the creators and the pilots.
Oh, but twice as much from the deck chiefs.
Well, the reason that we have the fighters, if I may say so, is to find the answer to that question. I think it's a very good question, and I think that if anyone could find a reason for these fighters to be aboard the ship, well, I'm looking at those brilliant minds right now.
That answer actually seems to reach him somewhere and stump him. Like you've appealed to the adventurous spirit of his engineering side with some common sense. And for a split second, the rage he has that is kind of irrationally directed towards Lieutenant Commander, it seems to be kind of jammed up for a moment. He just mouth hangs open for a second, goes, "Aye, sir." And we are making space for coming to the conclusion that they are useless.
No, I actually have an idea that would require a magnificent feat in engineering, an idea that most would probably consider to be mad, but if there were just someone who could sit down and work this problem out, I think that we might just have a transformative unit in all of Starfleet, but I don't know. Silly, it's just a silly idea.
As you order it, sir. And you see he just kind of relents.
Yeah, you might need to have a deck chief who didn't just want to say no to things all the time. We'll have to see what we can do. Seriously, was there business?
Yes, there's business. Might I have a word?
Sure, step into my not a ready room.
He just falls behind.
Santos dismisses himself and just goes back down to the nacelle and opens up one of the engineering kits that he's got. Starts to go to work.
When we get into the ready room, I'm going to step over, pull out my chair behind the desk, and then I'm going to go sit in the other desk.
So the ready room down here, by the way, is essentially what could be generously described as like a line of lockers and equipment that stretch down the entire length of a small corridor. It looks like it's a storage compartment for personal gear and equipment that each member of the crew has been assigned and is to take care of themselves, from suits that they might need for any kind of environmental effects of maybe walking on the hull of the ship. Any kind of like repair equipment that they might need is directly assigned to them in their personal lockers. On the right side, you see what looks like sitting areas for people who are making for quick lunches and breaks and stuff like that. Again, old school Starfleet. So a lot of this just looks like, for the lack of a better way of saying it, an old battleship that has been revamped. It does more than ever, Captain. The lower decks of the Pride are where you can really see her history. Down here on the cargo bays is where not a lot has changed in her refits. And a lot of the design conceits are still old school Starfleet. So it really does resemble something of what the USS Pride originally was, which, by the way, when she was commissioned, was as a battle cruiser.
Oof. I think following behind Lieutenant Commander kind of lets his eyes wander all around. It takes in the retroness of it. And then I'm going to say some words You are not going to like them, and then we're going to find a way to meet in the middle.
Why do I keep hearing that from my commanding officers? This is a worrying trend.
Yetep Wasat needs direction.
Well, I was told you gave him direction. He's been bouncing around the hangar bay talking about he's in Starfleet now, which is remarkable. Didn't realize it quite worked like that. I'm sure there's some field stuff. The 4 pips lets you do things.
They do.
So?
We're gonna find a place for him on the ship. He's got engineering. He's got an engineering background and piloting background, and there's a lot of work to be done on your side of things. I figured you might need a hand, or could use a hand.
In what capacity? Because I've heard 2 skills that make me feel 2 rather different ways.
Before I fall into this very obvious trap, I would just like to know if you might be willing to give me a gauge of how much a fight each answer is going to be.
Well, one of them will be no fight at all. And the other, that fight sounds like it would be with my deck chief. And I'll replicate some popcorn for that.
You switch things up. I thought it was the other. Okay. No fight at all. Okay.
Yeah. Because it wouldn't happen.
Yeah, that I gathered as much.
Yeah, no fight. So you want to get the chief to bring Wesset on as my deck crew?
Just consider Wesset. We'll have him on as your crew, but just consider.
As what, Captain? Say it.
A potential pilot in the program.
You have to be kidding me.
Yep, here we go. Yes, I am serious. I would like you to consider him.
And which of the Admiral selected pilots are you planning that I fire to make room for him?
None. He can be taught. You could have. There's nothing wrong with having a contingency, and you know how I am about contingencies.
What has he flown, Commander? Captain, excuse me. What has he flown? You say he has piloting background. What's he flown? Oh, you don't... Captain, do you not know what he's flown? Did you just do a very kind thing on no kind of background whatsoever, and now you're trying to fob it off on me? Is that where this is going? Because it's very thoughtful of you. I don't discount that at all. But do you really think so little of my work and my pilots that someone's background doesn't even matter? Is my job not difficult?
Oh, your job is plenty difficult, and you're very good at it. That's why I'm certain that if anyone could teach anyone to be a pilot, it's you.
But that's not how it works, sir. Unless you're feeling like hopping in a peregrine.
You wouldn't catch me dead on one of those.
Insult aside, why is that, sir? Because you and I both went through flight school together, which, as far as you know, is more qualification than Wesset has.
I'm simply asking for him to have the chance to learn. That's it.
No, sir, you are my captain. It's not an ask when it comes from you. So are you trying to throw your member around in my hangar bay? Because that is absolutely your right.
Remember, I am your captain.
Exactly. So are you ordering me to put this person in my squad or not?
I'm asking you to put him. I'm asking you to have your deckhand find a use for him. I'm telling you to tell your deckhand to find a use for him.
Sir?
Yes, Lieutenant Commander.
Deck Chief asked, what if the fighters are useless? Hate to say it, he might be right. This whole experiment might fail. And it has to be allowed to fail. That's one of the first things we learn as test pilots. Sometimes the craft doesn't do what it was set out to do, and that has to be part of the deal. And I take that on, and you take that on. With this whole Griffin Squadron. And we got to take that with the person you're trying to foist on me. No, the person you are foisting on me. Again, it's an order. Sure, absolutely, Captain. Happily, sir. Got to be allowed to flunk out.
Is there anything else?
You tell me, sir.
And I think we're done here. Gets up.
All right.
Starts to walk away. Oh, absolutely.
All right. Cadence.
20 seconds. I'm going to take 20 seconds first. It's probably gone after 20 seconds. Then what?
There's a chirp coming in on your tricorder that you always have. Everybody on the deck has one attached to them when they're running diagnostics, any of the equipment out here. When you glance down at it, you realize it's actually at one of the data pads. Everyone is personally assigned a data pad. You see that this one's indicating a flagged name of confirmed on transfer. And as you glance down at it, just as your rage is starting to subside, you see the name of a crew transfer completed, just beaming onto the ship, the name Lieutenant Commander Tavine. And it's flagged as on board, receiving mission assignment. A list of all of the assigned officers that are just now transferring over.
2, 3, 4. Screw it.
As we pull out of the hangar bay. The energy of the transporter subsides. And Lieutenant Commander Tavine, you find yourself standing aboard your newest mission assignment as your next tour of duty begins on the USS Pride. Quick refresher, Caitlin. Tavine has served aboard the ship before, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
She's returning to the Pride.
So this is a ship you were pretty sure if you were ever going to see her again, it would be in the Fleet Museum, being one of the last serving Excelsior class vessels. However, here you are now standing on the same transporter pad you transported off of, thinking that you would never see the ship again. The face that greets you is a very affable looking young woman with an ensign pip on her collar. And she looks rather stressed and glances up at you and says, welcome aboard the Pride, Lieutenant Commander. I'm so sorry. We're having to beam folks up one at a time right now because of the energy pool, thanks to long story. But I sorry I can't greet you, but mission assignments have already been uploaded onto your. She's just reading off what looks like a script from her datapad. Mission assignments have already been uploaded to your datapad, and you'll be seen to your quarters. Just follow the walkway. Computer actually will sync up with your datapad, and a light will take you to your quarters. I think that's all. I'm really sorry, but I need you to get off the pad. I have to beam the next person aboard. Welcome aboard the USS Pride. My name is Ensign Devins, Zoe Devins. If you need anything, feel free to ask people that are probably more appropriate to ask than me. Thank you. Can I use that transporter again, please?
She steps down.
Thank you.
And,
Sorry. Immediately starts transporting somebody else as you step down. Like within moments of you stepping down,
Yeah.
she says, ready for transport, and one transport activates again. You can see this is going to be a long day for the USS Pride. Indeed, it looks like the other pads are in a diagnostic cycle right now as a single transporter activates. And Ensign beams aboard and looks around with the duffel bag and is about to say something. And she immediately picks up the data pad and says, sorry, Ensign, Ensign Kevers. There's not a lot of time here. I just need you to report those. Your data pad should have synced up with the computer on board. It will take you, there will be a light flashing along the wall. It'll take you to your quarters. There'll be an orientation later. I'm sorry, can I have you clear the transporter pad as quickly as possible, please? And he goes, yeah. Steps off the transporter pad next to you and goes, hello. Oh, Commander, hello. Pardon me.
Lieutenant Commander is fine.
Lieutenant Commander.
I'm not a commander yet. We have one aboard already.
Ah.
Good luck, Ensign, she says over her shoulder as she to support Zoe.
What? Oh, yes, sir.
Good
Thank
luck,
you.
Ensign.
Yes. You hear the transporter energizing. Hi, I'm so sorry. I need you to cut up the transporter pad. If you look at your data pad, the door closes.
I'm gonna look at my data pad.
Indeed, your data pad does sync up with the central computer of the USS Pride, and you see what looks like on your data pad a virtual representation of the very narrow corridor, the signature corridor of the USS Pride, syncing up with the computer panels along the walls of the Pride. As soon as it does, you do indeed see that the data pad links up to what seems to be a pulsing arrow, like mini map on your data pad that leads you straight to your quarters.
I follow my instructions. Clearly there's things happening,
Mhm.
and I will await further assignment.
Okay.
Yeah.
You head over to the turbo lift, which has a line queuing. You wait for a few moments before it's finally your turn. Stepping inside, you are packed on the inside of this turbo lift. A few moments later, you head all the way up to the saucer section into deck 3, which is where a lot of the bridge officers have their central quarters, located just below the bridge. Up here, you have the steady, soft hum of the rather large impulse engines located on the back of the saucer section of the Excelsior refit. All of this familiar to you, Tavine. As you step out, you really don't necessarily need this data pad. As you step out onto deck 3 and glancing around, you know exactly where to head. Walking down, you get a brief glimpse at your quarters. Stepping inside, this will be your first time serving as Chief Helm's officer on this ship, and your quarters have definitely been upgraded. When you last left the Pride, you were not a lieutenant commander, and stepping in now, you have an officer's quarters, a part of senior staff. My goodness, this is a room. You have what looks like a living room in here, as well as an area for, it looks like a table to entertain guests or company if you need, with a couple of chairs and a bedroom off to the side.
First thing she does is turn up the temperature. It's always too cold. It's always been too cold, especially as Vulcan. It's always been too cold, but this is an old ship and it runs chilly.
Computer increased temperature by 5 degrees Celsius. Starts to heat up inside the room immediately.
Yeah, I think she just takes it in. It's the familiarity mixed with newness is like a kind of have to like reacquaint. As Tavine is a Vulcan. She is average height. She's got dark, short, very straight hair, cropped just above her shoulders, below her chin. and keeps it parted down the middle and kind of braided back out of her face. No bangs, just just pulled back. And just kind of looks around mildly, puts her bag and things down, and tries to get used to it.
Okay. You do see a message coming in on your data pad alerting all senior staff and specialist officers to report to a captain's briefing at 0100 hours. Or, I'm sorry,
Right.
1300 hours. 0100 hours. I was literally thinking 1 o'clock.
Party.
I didn't
Captain's
military
just like
time it
that,
out.
night owl.
I mean, Captain, we'll show up. But
I suppose.
I didn't military time it. I just really read it off the clock, and I was like, I read 1 o'clock like it was military time. 1300 hours. So
Yeah, how much time do I have?
about an hour.
All right. Yeah. She'll just kind of get acquainted and wait until time for summons.
Okay. You hear communications coming through on your console as you are currently sitting in the captain's chair, Commander. You hear, Chief Engineer to Captain... Oh, Commander, sorry. Commander, this is Chief Engineer Pavin. I really, really need to divert a lot of power right now away from some of the more less essential systems. Our transporters are a little in need of... What I'm trying to say is this is going to take 3 weeks if I can't take at least one of the transporters offline and run diagnostics on them. Can we maybe shut some of the non-essential systems down? It's not much, just everything above deck 12.
And this is to
Commander Hada.
oh, sorry, I didn't realize.
You're in the captain's chair right now. You have
Mhm.
to
You
do
took
that.
the bridge. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know
got you,
where we
Barry.
were, to be honest. I thought we were still in Tavid's quarters. Say that again, please.
I just need to shut everything. Well, not everything, obviously. Essential systems can stay online, but I just need to kind of shut everything down from deck 12 and above, since those are pretty much non-essential for what we're doing right now. Obviously, main transporter pad will need to stay online.
Yes,
But-
we're docked, and as long as life support is still up, and
Oh, yeah.
we're fine.
Okay,
Do
great.
what you
Thank
need
you
to
so
do.
much, Commander. I'm sorry. I cut you off. I was really desperate to get this finished.
Oh, I just said do what you need to do.
Oh, thank you, Commander. I appreciate that. Taking systems down.
All right.
Emergency lighting comes up on the bridge immediately. And the main view screen goes to black.
Had to stand up from the chair. Is anyone else still on the bridge?
Skeletal crew currently on the bridge. Anybody who wants to still be up here can be, but most of the stations have been put into standby mode as the computer has gone into sort of a sleep cycle, as it were, running diagnostics.
Yeah. Are we officially?
Y'all are
okay
docked.
yeah, we're okay to like.
Yep, she's
All right.
parked. So everything's going into standby. Computer's going to diagnostic mode. Everything's being maintenanced right now. Some of the crew that actually had scheduled some time to disembark and go hang out on the Starbase are getting that time in while they can. But everything is completely overloaded, and apparently only one of the transporter rooms is working right now. So,
All right. Hata, yeah, is going to stand up from the chair, and whoever's still in the room, she says to, I hope that you all will take advantage of being by Starbase and having some downtime. But I will see you when we're back. And she exits.
Commander,
Yes.
you see a Raleigh standing up next to their console and says, I'm not familiar. Does Starbase 16 have a telescope?
I believe so.
Thank you, Commander.
All right. She goes. On my pad, I'd like to see what quarters Tavine was assigned to.
Deck 3, not far from here. She's in the officer's quarter. She's on the officer's deck. So
Okay.
literally just 2 decks down from where you are right now.
Instead of waiting for the well, no, you said transporters, not the turbolifts. The turbolifts are fine.
Turbo lifts are backed up right now, but the bridge is going to be a priority.
Well, I'll just take like like not a Jeffrey's tube, but just one of those big ones that
Oh,
shoots up and down if we have
are
those.
there water tubes?
Oh,
Aquatic structures.
I don't know. Don't think so. I think the way we've mapped it out is that the refit allowed for the supplementation of dual environments, so that each deck can accommodate. But
Yeah, so I thought we had the parallel Jeffrey's tubes for going between decks and whatnot.
yeah, I'm checking that right now. So Jeffrey's tubes are primarily just like crawl spaces
Awkward
for
Jeff.
yeah.
New superhero.
Awkward.
Checking here.
Just that dude.
My buddy Jeff. He really likes going to the lake.
Okay, one second.
Going tubing.
Oh, that's just my dad. Oh no,
The
it's
fish
my
don't
dad.
speak back.
is your dad named Jeff?
Your dad's named Jeff. He really likes going to the lake.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Heck yeah.
Deck 2, Deck 3 access. If I remember correctly, Deck 3 is actually not the office. I may have gotten this wrong. I don't know if. Oh yeah, Deck 3 is actually for officers' quarters and VIP. So it's also where I believe the lounge is located on the saucer section. It's also the place where currently I tell you what, also for Ox Crew, I will post up, by the way, just so everybody knows, for research for this campaign, a lot of deep dives into Excelsior class refit blueprints, which were made available, but there are multiple official blueprints. So it was kind of chaos because, of course, the Excelsior is the one that everyone wants. Not too many people have the blueprints to the Enterprise B, which is what is more modeled after what the Pride is. Did manage to find them though. So I will share with you all the blueprints that we are using for the Last Excelsior. So y'all can see kind of the general idea of what our deck plans are and what we're using.
So for everybody, so we have dual environments. So we have aquatic environment and air breathing environment, and then the ship is also augmented or set up with the hologram or the force field setup that you saw Eliza's character use last episode. So both of those things are true.
Yes. It's also worth noting too that the dual environment trait that you all took not only allows to accommodation of Eliza's species in particular for the aquatic environments, as well as your ensign, Caitlin, but also the dual environment trait allows for modularity, which means that you can use the technology on board to create dual environments based off of what you need it for. So for example, if you ever had Tholians visiting the ship, you could remodify the dual environment and actually make it hospitable for them as well. It would be a feat of engineering to make it both hospitable to Tholians and aquatic. Usually you'd have to pick one over the other to switch it around, but you can do it. Nothing engineering can't be done without the right amount of technobabble.
It's too much accessibility, baby.
With the right kind of audacity, we can do anything we want.
You got some technobabbles, some dice rolls. It's Star Trek. You can do it. That being said, heading down to one of the lower decks here on the bridge, in the saucer section, after a few moments. By the way, exiting the aquatic tunnels that you use here for accessibility, they are brilliantly outfitted on each end of the tunnel with a force field that does not allow the hydro. The simplest way to say this is when you step through that force field, excessive amounts of water are immediately left behind as you pass through the shield itself. So in other words, when you pass through it, your uniform is completely dry on the other side of it.
It's so cool.
You exit out into the deck. You see here on this particular deck, it's not quite as busy, but you make your way over to the quarters that have been assigned to your old acquaintance.
Ring the bell.
You hear that famous Star Trek chirping sound. Someone is at your door.
Enter. door unlocked? I don't remember how that works.
Yeah.
I don't remember the words.
Enter, and you just step in and basically gives access. The moment the doors open, Hata, a wave of warmth and heat, a familiar. You remember previous times that Tavine was stationed aboard the USS Pride. There was a moment in her early days where there were complaints among bunkmates because of arguments over temperature control.
Honestly, that was their fault for rooming me with an Andorian. They should have known that our climate preferences wouldn't have been compatible.
Right. Here she is, Lieutenant Commander, and a room all to herself. The heat of a Vulcan environment immediately.
Now that you have your own quarters, this is
Very
great for
warm.
you. Yes. It's so good to see you.
Computer lower temperature by split the difference. I have guests.
I can stand heat for, I've spent a lot of times above hydro vents and such. How are you? It's good to see you.
I am well. A long wait, but Station 16 is agreeable.
Yes, we had to take a detour before we could come pick you up.
I hope all is well.
Yes, we were able to help some people who were stuck. So that's good.
Good. How is the return to the ship? I was unsure if I'd ever see it again.
Same here. The return has been good. It feels good to be here and be the XO, and our new captain is very kind and very interesting.
I look forward to meeting the new crew. I hear we're returning a few returning members, but many new faces.
Yes, many new faces. The ship has an entirely different energy now.
There seems to be an issue with the transporters, which I am assuming has been noted, but your ensign seems flustered.
Oh, which ensign?
I believe she introduced herself as Zoe, the one who greeted me.
Oh, yes. She gets that way. Yes. Transporters are being repaired right now, which is why the lights are so low.
I am not entirely an expert in not Helm things, but I am still an engineer, so if I can lend a hand, please let me know, Commander.
Well, if you would rather do that than get settled, we could go down to engineering and do you know Pavin?
Is Pavin a GM? Is Pavin was he here previously?
No, Pavin is just functioning right now as temporary engineering chief of engineer. Pavin is kind of in between assignments, really, and is just kind of trying to keep the Pride together with duct tape at this point.
I'm unfamiliar.
Oh, I will introduce you.
Yeah, I think when you had said unless you want to get settled, I think she looks around at the small bag that she brought that's already empty, and is like, I'm good. I turned up the temperature. I'm comfy. But she's like, let's. I will straighten my uniform and be led. I cannot. I have to take the turbo lift. I can't take the aquatic tubes.
Oh, of course. I wouldn't expect you to.
Also, I do have a correction. It's deck 4 where officers' quarters are located. Yeah, I know. It's off by 1.
Okay.
Deck 4. Oh,
deck
God.
4. I will point out people's quarters, as we pass through, heading to the turbo lift. They're just the different bridge positions and stuff. Those are my quarters. And yeah.
So you guys are headed to main engineering, is that right? So main engineering, it takes you a moment because again, the turbo lifts are all being used right now as everyone is kind of piling into them. But it is starting to thin out a little bit as some of the crew transfers are still in place. There's a lot of ensigns, a lot of new lieutenants that are trying to find their quarters at the moment. Everyone makes space though when they see the XO walking on the deck. You see a couple of people stepping aside. It's a new experience to see Hada basically commanding as an XO and getting the entire crew to immediately respond as she makes her way down the corridor. But as you guys make your way to the very heart of the ship itself, turbolift opens up and main engineering right now is softly illuminated. The warp core is dark. You can see it's been taken offline, which is pretty standard when you're in space dock and you're running diagnostics. You can see a lot of the consoles themselves are on diagnostic mode. And you can hear calling out the voice of Pavin just going, it's because she's old. It's why. You just got to take that into account. It's not a problem. We can work around it, but it's because she's old, folks. You cannot assume that this ship is going to do what you want because you told it to. She needs a little more love. You got to pay a little more attention. And you owe it to her. As you guys round the corner, you see him talking to a room, holding up a data pad. This middle-aged Trill, who is in the process of basically proselytizing to everybody and saying, it's the last Excelsior class in the fleet. You're not going to ever hear me stop saying that. If you don't stop treating her like she's some kind of new polished sovereign class coming off the line. Okay? So you can't just ask the computers to do things and she's going to do it. You need to get on your hands and knees. You need to crawl into the ducts. You need to get physical. Do you get me? You need to get involved here. There's a little more that takes a little more work. Commander on deck. You immediately see everyone turn and look at you. And Commander, sorry. Just giving us a bit of a pep talk since we discovered the problems with the power systems are not the Pride's fault, but people who don't know how to work the Pride's fault.
Oh, quite all right. I wanted to introduce you to our Lieutenant Commander Taveen, who is our Helms person.
Oh, the Helms person, eh? Okay, you guys go back to your jobs and don't let me have to yell at you again. Please. Okay, yeah. Helms person, Taveen, hello.
Hello.
Please, please, please do not wreck this ship.
That would be counterintuitive to my role.
Excellent.
I am not new to the Pride. I am returning. I do intend to treat her with respect.
Oh,
I'm
my
quite familiar
apologies.
with her.
In that case, I will ditch the attitude. In that case, I have a lot of respect for the people that have been serving on the ship before. In fact, I'm probably going to be asking you a lot of questions. Truth is I'm still getting used to her. I don't know how long I'm stationed on the Pride. I was supposed to be an interim engineer until they were supposed to find somebody with a more permanent assignment. So I'm here until they finally find a chief engineer for her.
Well, happy to have you aboard.
Sorry. Every time I hear Vulcan say happy, I kind of get thrown.
I was raised with humans. I find it puts non-Vulcans at ease when I speak more freely.
Oh, no kidding. Okay. Yeah, I kind of did. I'll keep that in mind. Well, I was just going to ask you, you're pretty familiar with the ship. Do you mind if I pick your brain sometime just to get, you probably know some of the ins and outs, any of the quirks that she might have. Starfleet didn't really give us a lot of time when they assigned us to her. She was literally getting ready to be mothballed before they put us on the ship, which I'm glad they saved her, but proper diagnostics have not been run. She was not ready when we left space dock, and I need her to be ready so when the captain needs her to go, I can make her go.
Please ask me what you need. I am an Excelsior expert, not as a false title, as a specialty. I know these ships quite well, this one in particular, but Excelsiors are my area of expertise. Let me know if I can be of any help.
You're kidding me. No, you wouldn't, because you don't.
I don't.
You don't. Right? No, Commander. With Taveen's permission, not right now. Get settled, but with Taveen's permission, I could really use her help down here. when you have free time.
I am quite settled. I was led down here after
Really?
offering to give a hand. Yes,
Commander,
please.
can I steal her, please?
Well,
I have about 52 minutes until a meeting that I'm scheduled for, but until then, you have me.
yes, if she wants to help, then she can help when she's not scheduled.
52 minutes. I can make that work. I just need help getting reserve power back up online because it's dark upstairs. And I don't want the captain getting back to his chair and finding out that there's no lights on. Would you mind helping me with this over here?
Lead the way.
So Hata, during that conversation, she wandered off and she was kind of checking things out in engineering. And she's looking at a console. And as they start to wander off, she says, "Oh, Pavin, I just have a question.
Yes, Commander.
It looks like you're still having problems with the EPS conduits not fully routing power to decks 15 through 29.
Yeah, it's a problem with some of the plasma conduits inside. They didn't upgrade all of them.
Right. Yes. And I know that has been faulty for a while. I'll talk to operations and see if we can do some type of co-diagnostic to see what exactly needs to be fixed.
That would be great, Commander. My team would be very grateful.
Of course. I will leave you to it and go to operations.
Thank you, Commander. He turns and looks at you and just quietly says, "God, she is the best." Like, seriously, I've had 5 commanders in my time at Starfleet, and she is the nicest commander.
I quite enjoy her company.
That was her complaining. That's as close as it gets. That's Commander Hata yelling at me. That's what that is. You just experienced rage from her. That's as bad as it gets. I don't
Hata
mind.
is of similar mindset in which yelling does not tend to solve problems. I don't foresee her shouting.
Oh, well, maybe she could take that lesson down to Santos in the hangar bay. Here, let me show you what I got. Okay, so the biggest problem, is the isolinear frequency that's causing displacement in this coil here. And then he sits down and starts taking you through it. Unless there's anything else. Yeah, what's up? What you got, Sam?
You gave me such a speaking of Santos.
Mm-hmm.
That it would be nigh criminal to deny such a scene, and I don't want to end up in the break my first week.
Okay.
Santos, you done under that bird? You got a minute?
He stops for a moment. He doesn't answer you. He stares at you for a moment, and he just passes the tricorder over to one of the ensigns and says, "Finish that." And he walks over with a hand on his hip, and he goes, "What you got?"
Come on. Away from baby bird ears.
He strides over. The two of you move a little closer to kind of where your quote-unquote ready room is, which, by the way, is something like 200 feet away from the central part of the hangar deck, the sheer size of this place. As you move over there, he's glancing over to the refugees and the crew members that have been saved. When you guys stop inside the ready room, he immediately just goes, "Am I hearing this right? Is that guy supposed to be joining the crew or something?" He motions to the Bolian, who's cackling with laughter at something somebody said.
I'm so glad you asked. Captain intends him to join our crew.
Is he going to be a bartender?
No, like our crew, Santos. He's sticking it with us.
It's like does he want him to swab the deck or something?
It was not clear to the captain the exact role when he gave me the order, meaning it is our job to find a way to make use of him.
He's a stray?
I wouldn't use those words. But since you have.
There's like a whole academy in San Francisco for shit like this.
My goodness, there sure is, and yet our orders remain the same, don't they? Now, I figure the way this is about to go is you don't want him on your deck, and I don't want him in a bird. and we could either haze the Boar guy out of here and flunk him out of everything, set him up for failure, but that isn't the spirit of the orders, is it?
Okay. Oh, okay. What are his qualifications? Because putting him in a bird is a problem.
Yep.
I can put him to use on the deck.
Yep.
That's not a problem. I could give him every menial task we do not want to work on. I could have him changing ice linear chips all damn day. I don't mind that. But he's not flying, is he?
No one flies these birds without passing qualifications.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
I wouldn't do that to you. I'd make so much work for you if I put someone in the seat didn't belong there or sent you back a banged up bird.
All right. So yeah.
We're just getting to know each other. I don't do you like that. Other ways. Will vex you in other ways. Totally determined.
Yeah.
But I don't
have you spoken to him
as little as I like it being put in our laps. I don't want to give him every crap task because Captain wanted to do a nice thing.
Well, let's get to know him. That's usually the that's the testing that I do. I just get to know somebody, find out. It's, when it comes to Starfleet officers, it's not that hard, and you can be kind of tough on the kids, and it's funny. But if it's somebody who's a civvy who's coming in here and just taking over, working on sensitive areas and stuff like that, if I don't feel like he's material, I'll have him scoring off the bottom of every shuttlecraft that did a poor reentry for the rest of his life. I ain't going to put him in charge of anything that did any kind of puts him in any sensitive areas or anything like that. Do you want to be with me? I'm going to go talk to him right now.
Let's do it. Come on.
The slow motion walk of the two frenemies facing up on this guy. You two walk up to this Bolian, who's in the process of saying something in Bolian to one of the smaller kids, and notices the two of you approaching and just kind of waves them away. Spots the two of you, kind of stiffens up, and you see Wesset just, hello? Yeah, hello. So I'm Deck Chief Keith Santos, and this is Cadence. And yes, that's the only part of their name because something Vulcans. Anyway, what do you do exactly? What was it, Wesset? Wesot. But yeah, Wesset works. That's fine too. Wesset's a good name. It's nice, kind of trims it down. But Wesot, if you want to be correct, which engineers like to do, from what I understand, correct? And you're an engineer, right? So we're all engineers here? No, we're not. This is a pilot. I'm the engineer. And you're an engineer? Is that right? Yeah. I do some engineering, do some flying too. Done some flying in my time. And, get blown up by Romulan mines when I'm bored. But aside from that, is there something I can do for you? Well, see, that's what we're trying to find out, because apparently you're joining our crew here, and I don't know anything about you.
Hey, we know a little. Wesot. Now we do.
Wesot. Okay. Well, I mean, I can tell you whatever you want to know. I don't exactly have a resume typed up, but I'm sure I could fill you in on the past 25 years of engineering and piloting that I've been doing out here on the edge of space. Do you want to maybe have dinner or something? We could all sit down and just chat, and we could catch up, get to know each other a little bit, and I can tell you a little bit about myself, and you guys can tell me like what y'all do and what you fly, and kind of avoid awkward moments like this in the future.
Santos, is this what it's like not in Starfleet? I've always been in Starfleet. Do people just do work over dinner?
I don't usually have dinner, but
I love that for you.
Yeah, I usually bring my food down here to the deck.
Yeah.
It's the mess hall. See, you're on an Excelsior class. There's no fine dining here. We have mess halls. We're not like the other spiffy Starfleet ships that get their own whatever, like what do they call them, 10 forwards and crap like that. No, here we have mess halls, we've got kitchens, we have areas you don't find on other ships, and well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to spend that kind of time in close proximity to you, Westsot, until I know exactly who you are, where you came from, and that you're not like, you know, some kind of what's the word, like Orion crime syndicate secret agent person sneaking on board the ship trying to blow everybody up or something. I don't know a thing about you. Captain seems to trust you because Captain's got good insight on that, and Captain says I will do. But you know, if you're joining Starfleet, if I'm putting the safety of the officers and the people around me in your hands, I want to know what your goddamn DNA code is before I let you touch a single tricorder on my deck. Do you understand? Westsot
I think
nods.
the chief medical officer has that one.
That's a good point. Actually, have you reported to sickbay? Have you done any of the basic stuff you need to do before you start serving on board a starship? I said yes when the captain asked me if I wanted to join the crew, and seems like that's all it took. So, yeah, I have. Also, you're very rude. Has anybody told you that? Santos smirks, glances over at you, and then back. Yeah, I've been told that.
Yeah, I think you're incredibly charming. This is what charm looks like in Starfleet, frankly. The absolute paradigm. All right. Santos, I think our career qualifications meeting is going to have to wait. Give you time to work up that resume. I'm about to go to a senior staff meeting. I'll talk to Commander Hata. Hata knows everything of procedure there is to know. She'll get you set up. And then once she says you're ready to come talk to us, you report to us.
Okay,
Sound good?
That sounds good. Yeah. Yeah, I'll be here. Nice talking to you, Westsot. Santos turns on heel and starts walking back with you, escorting you to the door that you're about to head out to go to the senior staff. Just says a few words and says, he's all right, I guess. He's not too bad.
It's a mess hall. We don't do fine dining. My goodness.
I mean, truth is whatever freighter he was flying was probably a lot rougher than what we have here. But
yeah, probably was, wasn't it?
Yeah, but you know, I'm gonna play with him for a bit.
Blown up.
Actually, I heard it's just still sitting out there.
There's holes in it.
Yeah, it makes it hard to fly. That's what I hear. Not supposed to do that with ships when they got holes in them.
You heard one of the ensigns in main engineering stop their warp core from melting down inside 4 minutes or something.
Baya, yeah, I heard about that. She's kind of the talk of the town right now.
Yeah, the chat of the gearheads.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't realize you had your ear to the ground.
Well, anytime somebody throws themselves on the live warp core to save a bunch of lives, that's somebody who I want working on my ship.
Well, I suppose good news. Then you keep your ear to ground with engineering, and I'll let you know if there's anything to report back from upper decks.
Hey, he stops you just as you're about to pass through the doors, and he says, listen, I think the captain might be right. I think I got a good vibe from him. I want to know more, you know? Like, we gotta do like some basic background check on this guy. But I don't know. Maybe there's something here. I'll put him through his paces, figure it out. I act pissy about this, but the truth is I kind of got in the Starfleet the exact same way.
Really?
Yeah. My dad ran afoul of some brie, and we ended up finding ourselves adrift, and we got rescued, and so on and so forth. So
it is pay it forward o'clock for Chief Santos.
I wasn't as nice as he is. That's what bothers me.
You?
Yeah. All right, get to your meeting. But don't forget to report down here for your 7 o'clock act like an asshole on my deck so I can scream at you some more.
Wouldn't miss it.
And he doesn't say anything as he turns and he starts shouting at one of the ensigns, "That's a 2-person job. What the hell are you doing?" And he walks over there as you step out. Everybody starts to converge on the main senior staff room, and that is a good spot to pause for our break. We will be back in 10 minutes. We'll see you soon, y'all. Welcome back to the Last Excelsior, everybody. We just got done shoving a bunch of food in our mouth and taking a quick break and hydrating, and now we are ready to jump back into our episode for this evening. Thank you all for joining us as always, and quick shout outs to some of the people who have been supporting us. Obviously, the Aux crew make it possible to even do this show. The Aux crew make it possible for us to have been a group since we departed Geek and Sundry all those many years ago. It's shocking how many years ago that was now. So thank you so much for showing your support and showing up here and being with us. We really appreciate it. Also, hi, YouTube. We are shocked and we are so very excited that you're all joining us as well. That also, big shout out and thank you to Modifius. Our friends at Modifius all got us copies of Star Trek Adventure 2nd Edition so that we could be the flagship show of the rule set as it was coming out. We, of course, did this for 1st edition with Shield of Tomorrow, so it's lovely to be able to revisit this again. And just wanted to say thanks to all of our friends over there. Star Trek Adventure 2nd Edition is out now, so you can go nab it. It is actually quite spectacularly awesome, so I highly recommend it. Okay. That being said, this scene starts with the crew gathering in the main conference room. I'm actually going to pull up because today was building us a custom version of this, but we have been using Tadeo's builds for our Excelsior for visuals for the USS Pride. For those of you who do not know, there is a brilliant creator out there named Tadeo who does a 3DI renders of interiors of starships and has been a friend of the StreamPunks for a long time. Is one of the people that basically helped us create the USS Ross. In particular, built the bridge to the USS Ross from scratch, just based off of what he thought would work. Tadeo reached out to us and to let us know also that he had achieved a position at the Roddenberry Archive because of the work that he did on the USS Ross, and has also been doing work for us on the USS Pride, has created original bridge for us here as well. So if you get a chance, please go check out his art station. I'm going to go ahead and post it in our Twitch chat. And if you wouldn't mind, Noir, I'm going to post it here if you want to post it in our YouTube. Tadeo, please go support Tadeo. He's absolutely brilliant. He is known throughout the Star Trek community as being one of the most brilliant designers of bridges. It's fantastic. He does a lot of interiors. We are, with his permission, using the interior of the USS Potemkin as a basis for the USS Pride. So I'm going to draw everyone's attention. Now I'm going to post a link here in chat for my crew in our video chat. If you'd like to click that one, that is our briefing room that you are all currently gathered in. Now, Tadeo did say he was going to be building us our own briefing room, but I'm not going to hound the man because he's very busy and he can build us one whenever he wants, because I'm just grateful that he's built us anything at all. But you all gather in this briefing room. Now, again, this is an Excelsior class refit, so you don't have the spectacular window vista views everywhere. A lot of these rooms are the interior with very few windows that look out over space. In this particular instance, it's a comfortable room that has some beautiful and resilient plant life that lines the walls, and also some historical markers of the ship's history, previous captains and images of them up on the wall and how many times they've served. Areas that the USS Pride has served in since it has been in service, commissioned back in the day, which, by the way, for anybody who is wondering, 86 years ago, specifically, the USS Pride was commissioned in 2296 and has been through 8 refits. Her history is lining the walls of the briefing room. And each of you, as you enter into this place, cannot help but feel the history of the ship that you're on. You have to wonder how many crews met in this briefing room, having mundane, typical meetings and other meetings where emergencies were discussed and lives needed to be saved. The history of the ship is present. Of course, for some of you, that is only a brief observation, as the senior staff, for the first time ever, is now fully assembled in the room. And
can I get a marching order of who arrives when?
That's a great question. Yeah, let me know who walks in first. Who wants to be the first one in?
Cap would be. Oh, no, go ahead. Oh,
maybe after Cap. Hatta.
That would.
I don't need to be first. I was just thinking early. So
yeah,
that makes sense.
With his anxiety and anxiousness, he would definitely feel like I gotta get there first. I've already made a bad first impression, or at least that's how I am.
Tavine shows up at the exact time she was given in her data pad.
On the dot.
That's the time she was given, so that's the time she shows up.
In the minute, but like not on the minute. Like, you can it was 1300, so it's not 1301, but it's definitely 1340 seconds.
I am going to do, as if you'll permit me, and I apologize for breaking narrative just for a second, but I just realized something I need to do is I'm going to also link here in chat, everybody, if you would please also give a follow and check out some of the incredible artwork done by one Aaron Harvey, who has been posting some absolutely spectacular fan art. The Last Excelsior is also on ArtStation. I went ahead and threw that link up into the Twitch chat. I'll throw it here into the video chat for anybody who can post that in the YouTube for me. But definitely give it a try. I just want to give him a big shout out because recently some of the most incredible art has been coming out and it's stunning. So I'm sorry. Now that has been said, do please continue. So you are the third person in, I think, at that point, because everybody else kind of arrived a little early. So it sounds like Tavine is the on the dot arrives. Yes. Yeah, number 3. Right behind you, Tavine, is the chief acting chief engineer, Pavin. Steps in. Pavin has his uniform slightly unzipped, like he has been working a lot. Steps in and immediately, instead of sitting down, beelines over for the replicator and says, computer, just something cold and bubbly, please. Please specify. Something, I don't know, carbonated water with ice, cold. Takes it. Then he sits down. Who is next?
Yeah, sounds, since I'm within a minute.
Yep.
Of the time, can't be late. Cadence will rock up on in.
Okay. I'm sorry. I'm just picturing. I cannot help it, but I'm just picturing the Kill Bill zoom in, like sirens going off as the screen goes red and it zooms in on the eyes of the two characters spotting each other for the first time. You step inside, and sure enough, Tavine, as you're situating yourself at the table, stepping into the room is your sibling.
To anyone else, Tavine takes note. To Cadence, there is abject shock in the slight eyebrow raise. But she says nothing.
Eyebrow raise in return. They're like, really?
She shakes her head slightly like, no, I didn't know. No one told me.
I looked at the commander and the captain like they didn't tell you.
Yeah, Hada, who has... What is Hada's reaction to this?
I'm going to roll to see if I notice this.
Okay.
Can I join you in that?
Wait, I rolled it. I don't know which way it is. So
yeah,
10 or below, I don't notice.
Oh, yeah.
11 or up.
Okay.
I notice. Oh, that was
Oh.
cocked. Okay.
Yeah, I noticed.
I don't notice. I don't
You don't
notice.
notice? I was just completely oblivious. So pleased that the senior staff is
Yes.
finally getting together.
You've got your
Nice.
you're focused on the replicator order happening currently.
Mhm.
I rolled double twos. I'm locked in. You ever been so nervous that like time slows so you can see everything?
Right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
So when I look to the commander and I look to the captain,
The captain's looking at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Commander
This
is looking at someone else.
This is totally a Rocky Horror Picture Show moment. Pavan, of course, is just sitting there at the table and sips the drink and just goes, "Ah, at least the replicators are working pretty well."
Yes. How is the repair going?
It's actually almost done. I give it another hour and my team will have it fixed. We figured out what the problem was. Again, a lot of these kids think that they're working with. There's been a lot of refits on the Pride. No offense to anybody here who loves her as much as I do, especially some of those who are returning, and nods to you, Taveen. But Taveen helped me basically map out some of the areas in which some of the refits looks like they probably just made some assumptions about the compatibility of new and old.
Thank you
So
for joining, everyone.
everyone gets quiet.
Like Intro's whole thing
Uh-huh.
just kind of changes.
all right, then Cadence will take a seat nice and far from the helm officer.
Okay.
First, I'd like to say thank you all for the welcome to the Pride. Some of you, this has been your home for some time. Others of you are new alongside me. But what we all share is that this is all of our home together now. Our first trip had its issues, its troubles, but I'm grateful. It showed me the wherewithal of this team, its ingenuity, its cleverness, and its tactical thinking. The first order of business is that there's a particular ensign who showed remarkable courage and ingenuity. I would like very much to make sure that such a display is noted, is kept in record, and rewarded. But before we go too far into that, I'd like to know what all of you know about this ensign, and what do you think about our mission?
This is a pop quiz. You are talking about the engineering one with the warp core, right?
Damn right he is.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe there's a bunch of extraordinary ensigns on this ship. You know, all the ones who don't hit mines.
Commander.
A mine was hit.
Commander.
There was a minefield. And well, I guess it was a lieutenant or something.
Noted.
Well, I suppose now's as good a time as any to begin mission review. We'll talk about accreditations later. Let's be honest. Let's be transparent. The reason that we're all on this ship is because the Admiral has a project they're very fond of, and we need to find a way to justify its existence. We need to find a way to best utilize what makes us unique, our fighters. We encountered a minefield, which based on its location, raises a number of questions, but that's for later discussion. Cadence, you were able to observe and navigate through the minefield, but I want our collective minds to find a way to improve what we could do should we encounter that situation again. Suggestions.
We're going to have the sensor birds now that we're at 16. Deck Chief's going to start making arrangements to load on the prototypes now that we're here. I know I'm sure it was probably difficult to see from the Pride, but if I had been in a Paragriffin with better sensors, I'd been able to pick it up, and we're going to have at least one of those.
Pavan leans forward and says, that's actually a good point, because if we're going to be kind of doing off-the-books rescue missions like that, particularly this close to Romulan space, we're probably going to run into more situations like that. I don't know how much of a sensor suite you can jam into a small craft. It's not going to be anything like Pride has, no matter what we do, but we might be able to do something with a wing and kind of create something of a sensor net.
The setup right now is currently to have a relay.
Oh.
Anything, a ship that small isn't going to have computers to do proper image processing. We can take a real nice picture and we can make it the bridge's problem, Captain.
And this is what we're acquiring here, the space station.
Yeah, going to be loaded on tomorrow morning from the schedule I got from Santos. Right now we're making the hangar ready to accept the new berths. A bunch of them were in pieces on the floor. So I had to get that tightened up. That maintenance is scheduled to end at... I did not get that time from my deck chief. O'clock. I can get the time for you if you care, Captain. Otherwise, it's done by the end of the day.
Commander Hata, any thoughts, any concerns?
No concerns. I will check in with the operations crew and make sure that we are optimizing the flow of energy in this ship. Because, as Pavan said, this is an old bird, and she needs love and care, and sometimes the mechanicals and the energy flows will not work as they are expected to.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
All right.
So we'll make sure that's always being checked so that next time we are in that situation, we can do this type of plan as has been proposed.
Sounds good. Might I ask a question of the ones who were stationed on the Pride before?
Certainly, Captain.
What can you tell me about your last captain?
Above table, Eric, do we have any problems with this being
No, I love the idea of y'all yes-ending the hell out of this.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Thanks for checking in. No, I would say this is going to be an excellent opportunity for y'all to get some backstory for everybody at who is watching right now. One of the things that you can do in Star Trek Adventure 2nd Edition is you can actually select a service record for your ship. This is a new feature, and it's completely optional. Because the Pride is so old, the service record that's been selected is Aging Relic, which is an actual selection for the service record trait. It gives you an extra side crew character, an extra support character. But it also means that we have 80 plus years of history that we need to write up for the USS Pride. Now, a lot of us have decided to get to know the game a little bit and to get to know the ship a little bit before we discovered that history. So this is one of those moments where y'all are going to see above table. I want to know, as the storyteller, who was the previous captain, or at least what were they like?
I've always kind of assumed, or not assumed, but would have liked for them to also have been aquatic, to have been captain of a ship with dual environments and have been an aquatic individual.
That would make absolute sense considering how the USS Pride is built out. Being an older ship to have dual environments, which is a new technology, would have taken special consideration to have had it installed. So that makes sense.
Yes, the former captain was an Antidean. Sending you links now. Yay!
Woohoo!
I'm gonna nod my head as though I know what that is.
We're all learning.
I love it. I love it.
Yes. Let's literally just yes and this, Caitlin.
Okay, yeah, you want to do it in character? Yeah. Okay, cool.
Totally.
Hold on, I'm looking up what you said.
Oh yeah, sorry, let me get a link.
Sorry for putting y'all on the spot.
No, this is my favorite. I love this.
No,
Yeah.
this is brilliant. You being a GM know how often players do this to you, and now you get to do it directly to them. This is fantastic.
And now 2 of our players can make up stuff about the captain, and Eric can't do anything.
Yeah, it's true. If you were like, yes, the last captain was Unicron, I would probably have to
Ultron,
mix that.
actually.
Ultron,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
It's the
Oh,
younger
yeah.
cousin.
Captain was-
Antidean.
Our last captain was a Borg cube.
Yeah.
With the whole cube.
We needed a
That
really
was-
big chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Borg cube was aquatic,
man.
which is
Can
really
you
important.
imagine like a little mini board cube that's like human
This
size?
is what you're all hearing right now is why I think our group is uniquely suited for playing lower decks. Why our game went so well. It's why I think the next time we play it, it's going to go so well.
Oh my god, if we play lower decks, I could be by a lower decks. She's down there. I can be
You
by
can
still.
play by a lower deck.
Aw.
All
I
right.
love
What can
her.
you tell me? What can you tell me about your last captain?
So he was was it a he? Actually,
Yeah, let's go with that. Yeah.
he was Antidean, an aquatic species, which is why this ship was outfitted with the dual environment initially. And when I was offered my position here, I benefited from that greatly.
From
Well, that was real
what?
diplomatic. Was he cool? Was he a jerk? Come on.
I was not a senior officer at the time. I did not get to know him personally, but very affable. From what I understand, he was a captain for many, many years, a very long captaincy. He spent a lot of time with the ship. The crew was very fond of him.
Oh my God. I just got an idea.
I love it.
He really enjoyed fish, and he would have the most wonderful fish fries on Fridays, and that is why the ship thought him affable and very lovely and warm, because he was almost a father or grandfather figure to all of us in some ways.
You may have heard the crew, any returning crew, refer to the ship as Grandpa. I believe he started that, or it was because of him, something to that effect.
Yes, it's very complicated, but yes, that's
It
what
was the Pride was his ship.
happened. And he was the ship in some ways. What else can we tell you about him?
Yeah, what happened to him? Does he have another posting now? Did he retire?
He retired. As far as I know, he was going on was it 6 months or a year? I think it was closer to a year-long tour of all of the water worlds in the Alpha and Beta quadrants.
Wow. That's
Well,
a lot.
not all of them, certain ones, because it would take many more years than 1 year to visit all of them. But
I would have believed you. Show up, 5 seconds, go. Show up. Hey, who knows?
just dive in and dive out.
Hey, worked when I was near your homeworld, right?
Well, sounds like a good man.
Yes.
cared about the ship, cared about the crew, and you all cared back. I hope to maintain that tradition.
Hata kind of like leans in a little bit and peers at the captain. Can I roll a presence insight? What is it? Was one of those?
Are you
I
trying
wouldn't mind
to?
joining you in an insight command if
Insight
you
I
are
was
so
gonna say,
inclined. I'd also
so-
like to read our captain.
So before you roll, the question becomes: is this that it's up to Noir to whether or not you want to make this a contested roll? Are you trying to hide what you're?
No,
Then you don't have to roll. You can just use your intuition as commanding officer and a Starfleet officer to get a sense of what your captain is saying,
Mm-hmm.
what
Okay.
they're getting at.
Unless you'd like to make us snore.
Yeah. That,
Oh,
You
no,
want
it-
grades
he-
of success, happy to go for it.
he's being pretty transparent right now, and I think if you're all scrutinizing the look on his face, there is just a brief. It's not hesitation. It is doing the social math. And your captain was a good man. I intend to continue that tradition. And I hope he finds happiness outside of the pride.
Yeah, I think what Hata's picking up on is there's a little sadness behind this. So she's just kind of clocking it's a really interesting mix of emotions on her captain's face right now. Well, to continue introducing everyone to everyone else, I also would like to let you all know that Cadence and I worked together previously.
Those submersible shuttles were one of the coolest test piloting projects I ever got to do.
Yes.
So, have I even seen you since I got here? I've heard you over the comm badges, but
I did stop by, but it was very late, and you and the other pilots seemed engaged in some type of game.
The door suddenly opens to the room, and coming in breathlessly is Lieutenant Commander Selma Conway, who's just sorry, I'm late. Just pay no attention. I'll just get settled. She passes by, takes a seat at the table, situates herself.
don't worry about it. The commander was just asking me about my squadron's crew building exercise, which, by the way, went very hilariously. Thank you for asking. I suppose since we're seeing your staff meeting, next thing, from what I understood our orders, is to head out to Chandler, which is where I'm going to be shaking down the baby birds. I only know one of these pilots in terms of how they fly. I've seen them fly some shuttles, and that tells me exactly nothing about their ability to fly a Griffin, other than, I guess, that they will not fly immediately into the sun. Beyond that, this whole squadron that's this mission's raison d'etre could immediately go nowhere. All really depends on these pilots, and I don't know them yet.
Captain, I have a question.
Yes.
Just curious, because I've heard this reference before, but am I to understand that the success of the USS Pride and all of us is completely hinging on the squadron, wing that we have of experimental fighters that we're getting in? I don't know the full backstory as to why Starfleet pulled the old girl out of mothballs, and I was just curious. Is that what this is?
In so many words, yes.
Okay.
That's the simple way to boil it down, but I don't like simple, I like complete. So the complete picture is this. It is our responsibility to find a unique and beneficial use for that wing. We are Starfleet. We are driven by the question, why and how. There is no. There's just the next attempt. So, there are a plethora of things that have been a bane to Starfleet, that have been lingering problems that we have been thus far unable to resolve. The challenge for us is to figure out how to resolve those issues with the ship. That brings me to my next point. That brings me to the reason that I asked you about your captain. I am not him. I am glad that they are finding peace outside of the Pride. And I intend to earn your trust. But there are things that I will expect that perhaps your previous captain did not. This is, in fact, about our mission, our previous mission, and I need to make something clear. Violence will always be the last solution. Always. There is no, there is how can we do it together. We have the most brilliant minds in the galaxy on this ship. We find a way together. Period. There is no. We're too smart for that. We've worked too hard for that. I have faith in this team. I've seen you operate. And so I will give you something impossible to chew on, to think about. Because I know that you can do it. We need to find a way to justify this project. And I think in order to do that, we need to find a way to do the impossible with ships. Your challenge is to find a way to resolve the encounter that we ran into completely with the squadron. Whatever you need to develop, whatever you need to build, however you need to fly. That isn't just navigating around mines. That's not just scanning to find what needs to be found. You're going to figure out how to move a breached warp core safely away. Because it's impossible. So that's what we do. Any questions?
Acceptable losses on the wing for that, then?
No. It's a thought experiment. You find a way to do it without losses, we save the Pride. Violence, loss of life, always last resort. I think this is a project that we can do. I don't think we'll do it soon, but I think we will do it. Correction. I don't think. I know. We've lost so many ships in the Federation. Maybe we could save some lives by doing something different. Any questions?
Hata starts to, and then and then doesn't. Thank you for those guiding words, Captain.
I'll get you all spec sheets if that helps for the Griffins.
I had something I was going to pitch, actually.
Yes.
Well, I know I might get transferred out at any given moment. We set into a starbase. You haven't landed on your permanent chief engineer just yet, but while I'm here, I thought it might be worth maybe bringing up the fact that just so happens that one of my specialties is structural engineering. And I had a thought about these peregrines. I don't have the access I need to find out what it is this whole project is about. But the truth is we got a lot of space on that deck down there. I mean, I don't know if you've been down there, he says jokingly as he glances around the table. He's like, but Pride has got a big, expansive shuttle bay, and I have a lot of room to work. The point that I'm trying to get to is that if I can get an idea of what these fighters are being used for, I might be able to implement more than just a few of the changes that we've been talking about here. I don't know if there's already an engineering schematic in place for refits or anything like that, but if I could just have a look, I would need clearance, of course, but I think I could up our chances here, personally. Does that make sense?
I'll need the captain's eyes real quick,
I look at Hata.
That can be arranged.
Then I'll slide a pad across the desk.
Ooh, gimme. He takes it. Looks at the pad for a second and says, yeah, peregrines, man. I never thought Starfleet would go back to using fighter craft. It's pretty wild. But I mean, the Dominion War kind of forces your hand when... Really? As he reads the pad, cuts himself off and says, now that makes more sense than having them as fighters. So these are going to be like fast rescue vehicles kind of things? Are you looking at trying to turn these into...
I'm looking to save lives with the Pride and with our wing when no one else can.
So perhaps, Captain, it would also be prudent to not only have conversations among the engineers and pilots, but also have some thought experiments. You did mention that before, but perhaps we can get even more creative with ideas of how to, perhaps what types of situations this wing and our ship in particular would uniquely complement.
Exactly. I agree. I want us to take a look at the perimeter of all the perimeter of our last encounter. I want every detail memorized, and I want a solution. That's the thought of experiment. Starfleet has a tendency to let the impossible justify inaction. So let's take that away.
Well, I can certainly say that I know a couple of engineers that I would love to pick out on a team, help me come up with some ideas here. There's some pretty interesting schematics here for using drone technology in coordination with some of these fighters. Really fascinating stuff. If you don't mind giving me a little bit of time to look this over, I could probably have some ideas to you guys by tomorrow.
Yeah, a lot of the drones aren't implemented yet, but we're supposed to have at least 2 more prototypes that are going to have to get built up. So I certainly wouldn't mind getting input on the prototypes. Measure twice, cut once kind of thing. It's what they taught us with plasma torches.
Yeah, I mean, in truth, this drone tech that you got here, it's not that far from some of the worker bee tech that we use for the hard to reach places on the plates outside on the exterior hull and secondary hull. I'll take a look at this. I'll give it a look over. But I gotta say, this looks like fun. We could probably put together something pretty good here. I like seeing
the stealth recon ship is gonna be
pretty handy. Honestly,
yeah, handy.
Yeah.
Well, you have my challenge.
There's a chirping sound suddenly, just as you see the doctor. Someone's like opens their mouth to start adding to the discussion when you hear a chirp coming in, and as the chirp comes in, you hear on the other end of the line the voice of Evrali, Lieutenant Evrali, saying, "Captain, sorry to interrupt the meeting. There's a priority message coming in from Admiral Grotto Krom, the Admiral of the Starbase 16."
Please send it to my ready room. That'll be all for today.
Everyone starts to stand up.
Anyone who would like to join me, I am going to lead an aquatic tour of our dual environment systems. So if you follow me, we will go to a replicator and replicate equipment for you. If you don't know how to swim, let me know. We have some equipment that can help you as well.
Selma's eyes light up.
Oh, thank the stars. I've been so lost trying to find the mess hall. I need the tour. Please give me a lot of fun. I need a tour.
Come along.
All right. You all begin to filter out of the room.
I subconsciously.
I was going to ask.
Just a hitch in the step. Passing on my way back out, and I'm gonna see what I clock. What do I clock?
From who?
From who?
Oh, from my sister.
You, nobody else. You would be actively avoiding eye contact is too dramatic. Pointedly putting her attention on something else is more what's happening. It would be probably more apt, but the same, very similar concepts is looking over to the captain, actually.
All right. And out I go.
All right. Stepping back onto the bridge, Captain.
Can I kind of have it sent to my quarters? I'm sorry.
Your quarters? You could have it.
Yeah.
You could have it broadcast here in the room after it's emptied, if you want.
Oh, yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, you can take it wherever you want. You have the room to yourself. You can actually just take it here.
Before I head out, Tevian just says, "It was a pleasure meeting you, Captain. I look forward to flying the stars with you. I will think about your thought experiment. I'll have to review the records of the adventure I seem to have missed."
Thank you.
And she will see herself out.
All right.
I haven't met anybody. I haven't met any people yet. That was my first time meeting people.
All right, Captain. You have the room.
Admiral, this is Captain Jiren.
You see the view screen at the very end of the table, which has the Starfleet emblem on it, and it actually has the Office of the Admiral's name, rank. Rear Admiral Grotto Krom is Tellarite and is currently the Chief Commanding Officer of Starbase 16. A few moments pass, and you see it blink on as you see him getting situated at his desk. He sets down a data pad and looks over at you. He looks like he's on the younger side for a Tellarite. It's not always easy to tell. Visually, Tellarites can be kind of deceptive of their age. He has a full mane of black hair that is tied up into what would, in modern day Earth, be considered a man bun. And you see a very well-oiled beard that has been tied up very nicely in front of his Admiral dress uniform. He
Respect the beard routine.
he sees you and he sets it down and he says, Captain, well, it's an opportunity to meet you. I've heard about you, read about your service record, knew you were headed here. Good to see you.
Pleasure to see you, Admiral.
I saw the debrief that got sent over upon your arrival. Definitely want to hear some news about that. But congratulations on a successful rescue mission. I've already got the survivors getting ready to start making their way, beaming over to the Starbase. We'll take care of them from there. Medical staff waiting for them, and plenty of places to take them if they want to go. No one's having to pay for any shuttle rides at Starbase 16.
Glad to hear it. They've been through quite the ordeal, so I'm certain that they will be much better off.
Yeah, well, I hope so. I don't know if Rollin told you this or not, but he and I came up together at Starfleet Academy, so we go way back. He told me about his little experiment with the USS Pride and the wing of peregrines you've had sitting in my hangar bays for the past 3 weeks. I'm glad they're finally making their way over to you.
I can think of someone that will be exceptionally happy about taking those off of your hands.
You know, before you head out of Starbase, I'd really love to step aboard and see the Pride. I've never actually been aboard her before. Frankly, you don't get to see too many Excelsior classes in service anymore. You wouldn't mind, would you? Wouldn't cause anybody to pucker up too much. I know how people don't like it when the brass step aboard the ship sometimes.
Yeah, something that I'm learning rather quickly. We would love to have you on. Might I ask a question, Admiral?
Sure, of course, yeah. Ask away.
The individuals that you've taken in from us, again, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I heard word that there was a colony that requested evacuation, and that there is some waiting list that they are on.
Captain, I'm just wildly guessing here, but I might say there's probably close to 250,000 on that waiting list right now. We are way beyond our depth. One of the reasons why it was easy to get the Pride out of space dock is because Starfleet is completely overwhelmed. Even with the help of the Romulan Star Empire, the undertaking of moving billions of people, and keep in mind, billions of people is a planet on average. We're having to move thousands of these worlds and relocate people to worlds that were not ready for it. Some of these worlds are causing border disputes. Some of these worlds, the Romulans are not making it easy on us because they are being very Romulan about how much we do in their space and how much we see of what they do. Not to mention their government is scared of losing power, and so on and so forth. The complexity of what is taking place right now has turned everything into a damn tragedy. And we are doing everything we can to stop it from reaching catastrophic levels, which is why it looks really good and is precisely how it should be when we hear that you stopped on your way to save a bunch of people who needed help. That's exactly why the Pride was able to get out of mothballs, and the fighter wings kind of help along with it. But there's a long drawn out way of saying, if you're disappointed,
this is a rather impossible task.
Impossible? He gets quiet for a moment and says, we're on a Priority 1 channel right now, and you're in Stardock, so I can go ahead and tell you a few things. Give you a lay of the landscape. A lot of reserve fleet's going to be moving through Starbase 16 in the next 6 months because everyone's being called up. Admiral Picard's doing the best he can, but Starfleet's main mission can't change. We're helping where we can, but we also have to continue peacekeeping. We have to continue scientific exploration. We have to continue delivering supplies to people who are not trying to flee a possible supernova. We can't forget about the folks out there that are not the ones on the edges of Romulan space. We are juggling so many knives right now, Captain. It's pretty overwhelming. And all we can do is the best we can. And nobody outside of the Admiralty likes to hear what I'm about to say. But the dark truth of the matter is we are going to lose a lot of people. And we are doing everything we can to mitigate that. We are moving as quickly as we can. But there have been some things happening in the past 2 weeks alone that have added some complications. Now, what I'm about to tell you is going to become public in the next 3 weeks. There's nothing we can do about that. I'd prefer it become public right away. 2 things have rocked Starfleet in the past 48 hours. The first one has to do with Section 31. Are you familiar?
I've heard rumor.
Well, Section 31 is an off-the-books black ops organization that has been doing some questionable things on behalf of Starfleet for a long time. Long time. It's all part of the Starfleet Charter, literally Section 31. Well, after the Dominion War and the, we'll just say, rather disappointing choices Starfleet made in order to bring that war to an end, Starfleet has decided to officially disavow and dissolve Section 31. This has caused something of an upset. In order to get rid of Section 31 members, Starfleet has been offering them sanctuary. So if you're an agent of Section 31, it might be that you're being offered a place at Starfleet Intelligence right now. I mean, why get rid of all that skill set and assets? So there's a bit of controversy in the brass because there are a lot of things that could go very wrong with that. However, keeping them close and keeping an eye on them has some benefits. The biggest problem, though, is many of them have decided that they don't need Starfleet to do what's right for Starfleet. I don't know exactly what that means, Captain, but I do know that that is just one of the moving parts right now behind the scenes. And it's going to cause problems. Hopefully, you won't have to see any of that. And then, there's the big problem that's arisen, to which I have to alert every starship in the sector about. We have learned, by way of our scientists, that the Hobus star is going to be exploding a lot earlier than we originally projected. And that the explosion is going to be something close to 15 light years larger than we had expected. And the reason why this is particularly horrifying is we have reason to believe that the Romulan Star Empire already knew this and was hiding it from their citizenry for reasons that I can only imagine has something to do with not wanting to cause a panic and not wanting to lose control. It means that the Pride and other members of the reserve fleet like yourself are going to be stepping into a lot of shoes here. And don't worry, we're not going to be putting you on the front line to do any of the cards, pretty much handling that all. We're not going to be putting you on the front line for relief efforts. We are going to be using the Pride to take care of everyone who's going to get missed while we're trying to handle this. So, your crew is going to be doing what is needed to take care of the folks that might need help Starfleet would overlook in the process of trying to save billions and billions of Romulans and Remans and other members of their empire from burning up in space. So that's just part 1 of the problem. Part 2 of the problem is we have reason to believe that a house in the Klingon Empire has decided to use the desperation of this moment to seize upon a centuries-old blood feud against the Romulan Star Empire. Now, we are already in talks with Martok, and thankfully, Martok is not a Klingon with his head completely up his ass. But we also have to understand the political situation in the Klingon Empire is dramatically different than the way things work with the Federation Council. And it's not like Martok can go tell everyone exactly what to do. Starfleet intelligence tells me that they're going to be sending out details about what to expect, but as of right now, any rescue efforts or supplies that are delivered to any Romulan colonies or rescued ships, you are all to be on the lookout for possible combat action.
Understood.
I'll have your first assignments once you're done testing out the Peregrines once they're assembled. I have you stationed here on Starbase 16 for the next 4 days. When you all get underway, I'll be following the progress and reporting back to Admiral Rowland for you. But more than anything, Captain, I just want you to know Starbase 16 is a second home to you and your crew. Consider me a friend, especially if you're going to show me around your ship. And if there's anything I can do, just let me know. We're all going to be having some long nights for the next couple of years.
We look forward to having you, Admiral.
Anything else you got for me before I let you go?
No, sir.
All right. Well, you take everything I told you and try to have a nice day.
Yes, sir.
Starbase out.
As soon as the call ends, Jiren falls apart in the chair and looks around. Computer, please lock the meeting room.
Room secured.
Prophets, please. Please. That you gave the emissary the impossible. Is this mine? I do not accept this. I do not accept politics while people die. I do not accept discussions of Klingon houses while people die. I do not accept this. And I think he pulls his earring off and just continues to pray, and that's it.
We leave Captain Jiren and with the heavy thoughts, particularly the fact that Starfleet simply does not have the resources for an undertaking of this size, and if the Romulans are holding it up, disaster is waiting. It does beg the question, Captain, what else can you learn about what's being done? Maybe this situation, maybe learning all the moving parts, because Starfleet has to be implementing a plan. Admiral Picard has to be implementing a plan. If anyone is.
I think in this moment, it's not Captain Jiren that is sitting there. I think it's Idril, who heard his father petition Starfleet over and over to intercede in the occupation. And they didn't. Like, that's why he's wearing the Delta. Because Jiren, when given the Kobayashi Maru, refused to take it. And one of his values, in fact, that this is a value, impossible is not a reason to try. And like right now, he's leaning on that, and beyond the anxiousness and the nervousness of the moment of being a new captain, it's the wonder of Starfleet to Jiren has always been that they figure it out, that they ask the why, that in the face of overwhelming odds, they do the math, they do the science. And thanks to the emissary, they do the faith. So right now it's the feeling of, oh no, it's again. But also, maybe this is why the prophets put me here. Because I won't be the one to tell my father no.
Well, with that, as we pull away from the USS Pride, that brings a close to the first part of episode 2. The stage getting set where the galactic events are heading right now and the role that the Pride will play. Although it looks like there's a lot of choice to be made too on how to help. And it raises questions. Hope and defiance in the face of catastrophe. How far does it actually carry you to success, and how much is the harshness of the lesson really just doing all that you can and accepting what you can't? What makes heroes are the people who are broken against that question, refusing any other answer except that I can. Join us next week for the next part of this episode of Clear Skies, The Last Excelsior. Or no, wait, next week, different types of heroes take the stage. Isn't it next week is the last Tuesday of the month? Or last Monday of the month?
Yeah, that's
no,
right.
Next week is not last Monday of the month. It is later after that, the next Tuesday as well.
Oh,
but yes,
okay. Oh, that's what you meant by the back-to-back. So we get
StreamPunks presents Noirville starting next week.
Starting next week. Okay. So yeah, next week we'll be here doing Noirville, our very first big episode of that. And then Tuesday, the next day, over on our Discord, we'll be also doing some more Noirville. So yeah, spectacular stuff happening. Then we will be back for the Last Excelsior the week after next. So we will see you as the USS Pride. We'll see you then. Thank you as always for joining us this evening, everyone. And thank you so much for all of your support. Aux Crew, we adore you. We will see you all then. Until then, friends, hailing frequencies are closed.